jackhammering concrete, cutting rebar, a lot of metal, a lot of twisted metal, wood, just moving all that debris out of there.
It's now been nearly 30 hours since that partial collapse at the building at 4th and Race. Crews are still there on the scene, carrying on the grim task of trying to find a worker who is still missing at this hour. With that, we say good evening to you. I'm Kyle Linsky.
And I'm Cami Dierking, and the search is now a recovery effort.
Heavy equipment was brought to the site today, and workers also formed a bucket brigade of sorts in hopes of bringing answers to that worker's family. Our team coverage tonight begins with David Winter, who has spent the day there on the scene. David, what are crews saying about this search?
Well, it is an exhausting search, Kyle. Cami, they have been working wall to wall since yesterday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon when this catastrophic failure occurred. You can see that gaping hole 60 feet by 30 feet or so where the scaffolding gave way beneath and all that wet concrete went pouring down on top of those construction workers below, 4 of which were brought to the hospital, treated and released, and 1 of which, of course, is still missing and presumed dead. Take a look at some video from earlier today. They have been cutting away debris. They have been jackhammering. They want to make sure that all of this debris from the side of the building doesn't come over the top and fall down onto 4th Street. Of course, they have 4th Street closed off. Now, they are, of course, are also trying to find that lost construction worker. They've had dogs, they've had construction workers, they've had search and rescue, all trying to find where this construction worker is. They don't know whether he's just buried in debris or whether he's actually been encased in hardened concrete, but firefighters say they're going to keep working day and night until the job is done.
As long as it takes, that is part of the Cincinnati Fire Department. That's part of our job is rescue and recovery at this point. We always hold out hope. It's just a tragic situation, especially this close to the holidays. It's never easy.
And you can really hear the angst in the voice of that firefighter. They are, of course, very heart heavy with what they are trying to do up here. And we, of course, are going to stay on it until there is some type of conclusion. Reporting from downtown Cincinnati, back to you in the studio, Kyle.
All right, David, so many unanswered questions surrounding this investigation right now. Throughout last night, dozens of members of Hamilton County's Urban Search Rescue Team worked with companies to move some of that concrete. Now, these are firefighters who have special training to deal with structural collapses.
Well, for the wet concrete, it was pretty primitive. It was buckets, right? But we have plenty of chippers and breakers for the hardened concrete that the use our team carries, as well as some of our rescues in the city.
The local team got help from urban search and rescue teams from both Butler County and also Columbus.
And this incident brings back memories of a similar collapse at a downtown construction project that happened nearly 8 years ago. You might recall there was a collapse as workers built the parking garage at the casino. Local 12's Christian Hauser caught up with an investigator from that incident who has some insight on what comes next. Christian.
Cami, that casino collapse in January of 2012 was the second one in Ohio within just a few weeks. A similar collapse happened at the Cleveland Casino when its parking garage was also being built by the same company. The investigator that I talked with says that when pouring concrete like this, it can be extremely hazardous because there's so much weight to it. And if there's any fault anywhere in the structure or the supports, it will easily show it. Now, you remember, a 60 by 60 foot section of floor came crashing down at the then named Horseshoe Casino, causing workers to fall 25 feet. Investigator Larry D says that crews were pouring that concrete on the second floor when the structural beams failed. It was because instead of the 12 bolts that should have been connecting those beams, only 2 had been in place. Now, the company in charge had not yet come back and installed those necessary bolts. Now, there are state as well as federal regulations when it comes to how these concrete pours must be done. Everything is designed to prevent a tragedy like this.
If you don't have everything in place secured, once you start pouring that additional weight, then things will happen. And then each company should have like a safety director or a safety personnel, and they should be aware of these safety regs, so to speak.
Now, Dee says that investigators will be interviewing workers, taking pictures, as well as measurements, trying to find that one clue that could open up this investigation and figure out just what led to this disaster. Now, he says it could be a month, could be even longer before we're able to learn just what happened here. Live downtown, Christian Hauser, Local 12 News.
All right, Christian, thank you. And Local 12 has continuing coverage of the recovery effort. Brad Underwood will be monitoring progress that the crews make as they face the challenges of tonight's wind and rain.